Hi my darlings, today is the day after Tim's birthday and oh, that video was just brilliant. And yesterday afternoon Chris, Sarah, Joe and I were in the garden and we were having this conversation about why I'd like my ashes to be interred at St Giles church graveyard, and they were laughing at me how I keep mentioning about my funeral and the songs I'd like and all that sort of thing. Well, actually it's not really the funeral that I'm so keen on. It's just not even a memorial service really, but a thanksgiving, not for my life but for just the amazing things that I want to give thanks for really. And the reason why St Giles is somewhere that I'd like to have my ashes interred is because actually, you might not think so now, but I have found since Bea and Grandpa and Peter and Grandma have died, I would have quite liked somewhere specific to go sometimes, just to be quiet and somewhere to, well, I remember them all the time, but just somewhere where they are marked. Well, of course, Bea and Grandpa have their ashes interred in Loxford, and I have been there on just a couple of occasions. But Peter and Grandma, their ashes were sprinkled at Golders Green Crematorium, as Grandma came from north of London, and I think her parents were there. Bea was born in Acton, and Peter, because that was the crematorium where Grandma's ashes had been interred the year before, or sprinkled or whatever. And also he was, you know, that's served by where he was living at the time. And I've only been up there once. We went as a family with Bea and Grandpa and Roger and Lindy on the 10th anniversary of Peter's death. So I was telling Chris and Sarah that, and then afterwards I was thinking, well, I didn't really say a lot about why St Giles. Well, obviously it's one of the most ancient churches in England. It was built in 1100, and it's a really pretty church, and the surrounding area is lovely. And but Bea and Grandpa used to go up there to services latterly before they moved to Loxford. They'd always been at the 11 o'clock service at St George's, but then they did start to go to St Giles later on, much later on. And when Bea moved back from Loxford, she continued to go to St George's 11 o'clock with me, but she also would go to the Thursday service at St Giles. And then when she found 11 o'clock was sometimes a bit, the worship was really loud, and because she had problems with that level of sound, she started to go to St Giles on a Thursday morning. And not only that, I've been in Ashdid all my life, apart from the first few months when I was with Bea and Grandpa in Wilton, in Wiltshire, Devizes in Wiltshire, because Grandpa was doing his national service. And then obviously we came back to Ashdid, and I've been here all the time, apart from when Dad and I moved. Well, actually I was sent away from Ashdid, banished, and we went to North London, to Edgware. But then we came back to Ashdid, as you know, and we had a blessing ceremony for our marriage, which actually was a full-blown marriage service. Richard Askew took it in St Giles Church 6 months after we were married, and reconciled with being grandpa, and that was on the 26th of October 1974. So St Giles is somewhere that I really have a heart for, and I often go up there just because it's quiet and it's pretty, and there's a beautiful garden by the Dell Centre, and of course youth, Joe, Chris and Tim all went to playgroup up there at the top of St Giles driveway, and of course now it's the Dell Centre, which is really lovely and used a lot. So I do go up there. I go up there for courses, all sorts of things, but I do just love sitting on one of the benches. And I also wander around and look at the gravestones sometimes. It's really a much bigger graveyard than you might imagine. And what I find fascinating is some of the really, really ancient gravestones that are crumbling away, and it's difficult to see the writing. But there have been people worshipping at St Giles ever since 1100. But the interesting thing is seeing the family members, generation after generation, who've lived here. And of course it's different now because people travel all over the place. Families are dispersed all over the world, as we know. So I like the continuity of it, and also I find it interesting that I know so many of the people there. There are children, sadly babies who didn't survive after they were born, children that you will remember, and there are my friends who've sadly died when they were younger than me or my age now. And I just like to feel that there's somewhere where if you ever wanted to, you could just go and be, and there would just be, I don't know, one of those little brass pluck things with, I don't know, just the peace of the place is great to just sit and think, really. So that's why St Giles. And of course Ashtead is, well, so special to me. I've been part of this community all these years, and it's really important to me, and I feel it's important generations growing up can look back and see some of the stories of families, the numbers of people who served in the war. You know, several women here lost all their children and their husbands during the war. So it tells a bit of the story of Ashtead, and I'd just like to be there. So that's all, and I've got more stuff to say. In fact, I've got tons of stuff to say. I bet you're cringing in your seats. Anyway, that's this one for now. Bye, my darlings. Love you.